started. So sitting here to my right is Rebecca Mariello. Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay. Rebecca is here for about an hour or two, filling in until our borough attorney, Wendy, arrives. The second thing, because of people online and in the audience, so that you know, we won't be discussing the Clinton Inn matter tonight, nor will we be voting on it tonight. It's going to be rescheduled to another date in the very near future. Okay, so just so that's it. Everyone is welcome to stay, but if you're just staying just for that, this way you know up front that that's not going to be heard tonight. Okay? All right. Because we sent a notice the last meeting to the residents, and we didn't send the notice this time, and it was brought to our attention, so we discussed with the developer, and everyone agreed that the residents should have full notification that it's going on. Any other questions? No, okay. All right, first item on the agenda to be considered, second generation anticoagulant rodenticides update. I pronounced that correctly. Should I talk about it? Oh. Go ahead, with more information.
Do you want me to just provide a quick update?
Omar, you provide all the background.
Okay, so I reached out to the borough of Allendale. They currently do not use rodenticides in their borough. They terminated the contract that they had with their pest control company at the time. They currently, right now, they're not using the pest control. Actually, they're using more of a natural form of allowing, you know, the ecosystem take care of the rodents in the area. So they use code enforcements to enforce the areas which are the dumpsters which are in question, where they typically would use bait for you know to try to mitigate the rodents to come in the area. So at this moment in time, that's how Allendale is proceeding to use you know how they're what I would want to call it enforcing this type of action.
Great. So if you don't mind, can I explain?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's for anybody also in the audience. So these are called SGARs, which the mayor had pronounced. I'm not going to try. It's a second generation rodenticide. And the reason it's called that is because what happens, it's those little black boxes of poison that you might see by different dumpsters and things like that. And so rats will eat it, but then what happens is they don't die right away. They get slower and they die over some time. And as they get slower, what happens is the predators are eating the animals. It could be anything from cats who catch the rats or also birds of prey. And what they're finding is there's been a tremendous drop off in the bird population. So this was originally brought to my attention from Deborah Davidson at the Tenafly Nature Center, that there's entire organizations that are really quite concerned about these SGARs. So I had asked, you know, Omar as the clerk to look at what other towns are doing, because Allendale, which has Celery Farms and, you know, another big nature center near it, they were taking that action that he just mentioned, which is they're going with code enforcement of making sure that the dumpsters are, you know, secure. I did want to say that last time that I brought it up with the council, they also were concerned. And as you know, we all should be. And I just, to inform you, I copied an article that just was in a magazine I happened to read about red-tailed hawks, which we see plenty of around here, also being, their populations being decimated. And like the most easy way to liken this to would be like DDT is, you know, was found to be going through the ecosystem. So, so I would like, you know, given what we heard from, you know, these other organizations, these nature groups, I would like us, I know Wendy's not here right now, but I'm hoping that we can go with the increasing our dumpster enforcement. And I've personally seen a lot of cats around the back of the parking lots, parking lot O, and that is a form of rodent control. And there's some non-lethal deterrents that we could play with should it raise to that level. But I think it's very important that we take action because it's really becoming an epidemic within the ecosystem. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And I know, like I said, Wendy was pursuing possibly ordinance on that, maybe enforcing the codes we have, and I'll let our attorney talk about it. But I did just want to make that pitch about it and just that this was just an article I came across that was just very recent. So I hope we can take some action.
So I just want to ask, just for my own clarity. So what's and then Rebecca will talk to it. What is the specific ask? You want to change the ordinances? You want a new, what do you?
So currently we use Cooper Pest Control,
Right.
which we determined only offers the SGARs. They only offer the black box. They don't have an alternative.
Good.
When we were looking for like an alternative rodenticide, that's just not really in the mix right now. There's a few other things in the mix. Obviously, the rodent control being the securing of the garbage seems to be the thing that is the lead cause. But there was also this other thing which I forwarded in an email to everyone, which was something called Detex with Lumatrack, which is basically this ability to, it's a non-toxic bait that would actually make rodent droppings glow in the dark. So you would see where the sources are if it was something that that was getting an increased problem. So right now, the ask would be that we discontinue the contract we have with Cooper that offers only the black boxes, work with our Board of Health inspector to make sure we're enforcing the code and kind of see where we're at and if other actions need to be taken.
And would you propose we choose a different or search for a different vendor with alternative methodology? Okay.
In the meantime,
Okay.
yes, Omar had already started some of that, and I will keep looking.
Okay. Go ahead. Did you have comments about this, Rebecca?
So
No, hers goes without the button being pressed. It just needs to be closed.
Oh, I see it red.
It's red. It's on there. You just need to be closed.
can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so as far as the current contract that we have now, we can cancel it, but I just want to keep in mind that there is a 30-day notice canceled for the cancellation period that would need to be complied with the contract, and that we also need to, we could look further into what the Borough of Tenafly has already enacted as far as the dumpster ordinance control, and we could look into what amendments to the ordinance may be necessary as, pursuant to the law and as the council may deem appropriate.
Okay, so what do the council members think of this? What's everyone's viewpoint? I guess the goal will initially be to get some sort of draft change to the ordinance for everyone to review, but what is everyone's, yes, Lauren, please?
Well, I think if our nature center director is concerned about this, then I think we should defer to the expert. Her, Deborah Davison and her staff obviously are seeing this occur here in Tenafly. So I'm for the ordinance.
Comments?
Yeah, search for an alternative ASAP.
Okay, everyone.
Yes.
Tom's good with that.
On that, just the alternative ASAP so that we don't cancel a contract and have nothing in place.
Yeah, it needs to be.
The timing is critical, but I think it's a great idea, and I agree with Councilmember Dayton that if that's what's being recommended from Nature Center, it certainly makes sense.
Right, and just to also reiterate, we won't have an alternative black box. The alternative might be this, the extra code enforcement, the extra securing the garbage, possible deterrence of other things, but it's, right now, we're not at a point in time, and I don't want to mislead anybody that there's this other group going to come in and say, oh, here's the alternative box you're going to put in, because that just, right now, we haven't been able to find that, but it's not like we're not doing anything, and we want to do what Allendale's doing already.
And just for clarity, we're talking about borough-owned property here. We're not talking about commercial establishments or their methodology or anything of that.
At this point, we're
Right
going
now, right,
to deal with
okay.
our contracts.
Okay, all right. So Jimmy and Rebecca, you have clarity on that? We've got to think that through, come up with the draft changes to the ordinance, whatever it might take. And then we'll present that draft and the plan to the council for them to make a decision on.
And the 30 days, I guess, of notice to Cooper.
Well, we're not going to give them 30 days until the council understands exactly what the new process will be. You review any draft ordinances or resolutions, then the next step would be to execute on it. Right?
Well, I don't know that. Like, I guess my ask is to discontinue the SGAR one, which that I think is right, what I'm,
Well, yeah, ultimately it would be discontinued, but we'd have to replace it with the suggestions you have.
but I think we might already have, I know because I'm Board of Health liaison, we already do code enforcement for garbage, whether that has to be increased or not. It's not like we don't do that.
Okay, so Jim, that needs to be figured out offline. Right, okay, yep, we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, food truck ordinance.
So I could speak to this, or Omar, you.
So you want to talk about this one? Food truck ordinance? Go ahead. Take your time. Take your time. Go ahead.
So I did not, I have to say that I did not personally draft this. This is something that my colleague Wendy drafted and prepared for tonight. Just that amending the food truck ordinance to allow for a mobile beverage vendor to come into some certain residential zones within the borough. The current ordinance as it stands, it prohibits that type of food delivery truck within the borough. And the new ordinance would make certain exceptions to mobile beverage vendors who provide certain types of non-alcoholic hot and cold beverages, including coffee, tea, cider, drinks, beverages of that nature, or provide prepackaged ice cream or other frozen products.
Okay, so this came about because we have, one vendor around town selling coffee in different areas. Another thing, so the question became, how do we codify that and regulate it and manage it so that they stay in specific areas? Specifically, they stay away from our downtown business district. They're not able to operate down there. Anyone have comments, questions, thoughts on this one? No? Oh, I'm sorry, we do.
Yeah, technically this mobile beverage vendor, and there's a distinction between that and the food vendor. Because, they can sell food as well, but that's not their predominant activity. Is that what it is? The distinction?
That is correct.
Okay. So technically, these people, this truck can go throughout town, wherever they want, go towards the nature center, let's say Hillside, or anywhere they want, and people can stop them and just.
Right, it's not like,
it's not like an ice cream truck.
it's not like it's not, you hail the coffee guy with the prepackaged muffin. That's not what it is. So I know they've been to the Nature Fair Center a few times, and they use it for some sort of little fundraiser where they split the profits from the Nature Center and parks up there, so people get a cup of coffee. I know that this food truck occasionally is, this beverage truck is occasionally in like the school areas, and parents, when they're dropping off their kids, are getting coffee, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, I don't know if, this is necessarily a good idea to have, if it's sort of like a taxi stand. If we have a beverage stand or certain specific places where they can take the truck and stop, and that would be where they operate. I think that's the better approach rather than them just being able to wander throughout the town. At this moment, we only have the one that we're talking about. But that doesn't mean there wouldn't be 5 competitors if they know that there's a business out there. So I think that might be something that we should evaluate.
How about limiting the number of trucks to Venue's point? Is that in
Can
there?
Jimmy answer some of these questions?
If I could address this, in the ordinance, it does limit to 1 vehicle. And also does limit to days, times, certain zones that they're permitted to be in on private property with permission. So they will, they're not to occupy the public street or sidewalk. Correct.
Correct, correct.
Yeah, I think that's.
To your point. Three licenses or 5 licenses.
Yes, Lauren.
I just don't see the need to put limitations at this point. I actually really think this business model was unique and they came up with something to try to generate business and to serve our residents. So I just don't want to start with limitations. I think I'd like to pass the ordinance and I'm for the ordinance to allow them to operate right now.
Yeah, I'm not for the ordinance in the way it's currently written.
Julie, do you have a comment?
I would be I think I mentioned this last time, I'm just really wanting to hear from the business owners. I just want to make sure this doesn't compete with them. I know you said it keeps it away from the downtown. I'm just trying to get a sense in that way.
Well,
I don't want to do damage.
the ordinance is written specifically so no one can do this in the downtown business district. So there'd be no businesses around where this would operate. Jeff?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out because I did have a request, as I think I briefly mentioned to you offline, from a beverage vendor to partner with the summer concerts. So first of all, that's downtown. I do have, but even if we're doing that, it's residents and not-for-profit organizations may request for special events. We're neither of those, actually.
I think Wendy always does this. She loves us. Here, I believe I've read it also. Everything she writes, the council has the ability. So I'm almost certain.
Yeah, I'm trying, that's what I was actually looking.
That's in there.
No, I know.
But I will say, the way the ordinance is written, there is nothing that
Right above that.
prohibits a downtown coffee shop from actually also creating a mobile coffee van and being a
Absolutely, right.
competitor. They may choose to do this for our residents if they see the need and our residents are excited about coffee coming to the local schools or, right to their door on their street. Any one of our local businesses may also compete. This does not prohibit that at all.
Yeah, to Councilman
Yeah, I see it.
Micah's point of view, right?
Everything below it's a bug.
Yep. Application shall be referred to the mayor and council after review, who may grant the license applied for if all requirements have been followed. So ultimately, every single license has to be approved by this body.
She does love us.
Dan?
She does love us.
So should we just go around the table here so I can get a sense of what everybody's thinking? Yes, no, Dan,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Manu,
No.
Adam? Julie?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So then let's prepare this as it's written to be on the next council meeting for we have to do it's ordinance, we have to do our first reading. Let's go to, thank you for that. Administrators report.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple items that are not included in the report, but I'm happy to address any questions from items that are in the report currently.
The first one is, I really want to thank thanks to Jimmy for taking a first pass at the department efficiencies and investment opportunities. These are actually Councilman Grossman gets the credit. We have to find a way to be more efficient with the resources we have, else numbers only go up. It's good to see that there's some things on here. It's a good start, but I think we have to figure out, and I'll take Jimmy's lead, be more ideas. And then what we need to do is we need to actually, again, this is for you to decide, on a monthly basis, start building towards these. So we get no credit, our residents get no credit for coming up with ideas, we get credit for implementing them. To that end, and I love Jimmy's, I spoke to Jimmy beforehand, and I love the mayor and council's thoughts. I don't know if this is the exact perfect committee, but we have a finance committee that we put together a couple of years ago. I don't think they've met in the 3 years that they've been in place, and that's not their fault. Maybe what we do, we have amazing people in town that have done great things at the historic preservation, at the nature center, downtown, all these other things. My recommendation with the mayor and council's approval is let's get this finance committee back going. And let's see if they could possibly help us on where these efficiencies are, whether there are financial efficiencies, whether there are, we built this website. Website's great. Interesting. To my best understanding, I went through it. There's no self-service stuff. I should be able to, if I need to cut down a tree, not a link to a page that I print out.
Thank you.
Literally,
Thank
yes.
you.
So we have to drive more efficiencies. That means there's some capital up front. We have to look at that, but we cannot every year just keep, increasing the cost. So I'll take Jimmy's lead, or if I could ask the mayor and council if they think this is a good idea to reinstitute the finance committee. But we have 8 months now. In 8 months' time, we have to come back. They have to come back to this council and say, here's $1 million worth of efficiencies that we found. That's the only way we keep our budget.
Lauren.
I just want to thank Councilman Michael for bringing up the website, which I repeatedly brought up within the budget, saying it's unfinished and we can do better services for our residents. And that is a huge efficiency for our community. It's less paperwork. It's less time for our staff.
To be clear, for me, I'm not about spending my money on a website. It has to be self-funding, meaning
Correct.
if you think we're going to spend $100,000 on the website, you need to show me that we're going to save $1 million worth of.
It's absolutely employee time and effort, responding to residents, filing papers, everything that we want to improve within the internal workings of our borough. And it's possible because I've met with many people who explain how it works. So I'm all for the finance committee and I'm all for taking another look at this website.
So why don't we do it a little differently this time? Why don't we have Jimmy speak with and make arrangements with the finance committee members? Because it's tied directly, specifically to the administration's tasks here and responsibilities.
Perfect.
Let him take that offline. We'll make the connections, and then he can report back to us on next steps.
Perfect.
He being Jimmy.
And I don't know if we could take advantage of the voluntold people, but the same thing with the major investment opportunities that we could get from this federal, state, and local government. In my world, there's like a useful life assessment. Look at the biggest capital expenditures that we have, buildings we have. We know when we're going to need a new fire truck or a new building. We have 3 things on here, which is a great start. The list, unfortunately, is 50, it's a mile long. Let's get those things on the piece of paper, and then let's start lobbying our federal, state, and county executives.
Okay, Jimmy, go ahead. Lauren, then Jimmy.
Sorry, I had a couple you asked for questions. You know, as you know, Pride Day is coming up in a couple weeks. Any news on installation of the Pride Rainbow Bench?
That's in the capital budget, which is not adopted yet.
So we haven't purchased it yet.
Correct, because we don't have the funds allocated.
Okay. You know, we have the flag raising, then Pride Day is June 11th. If there's any way to get it in by then, let me know.
Okay.
I just want to report back to the Pride Committee. Bottle fillers, I know we had halted the work on that. What's the status on the bottle filler water fountains at the fields?
The one here at Municipal Field, there was a leak. I believe that, I'm not sure if that's operational yet, if they addressed the leak. The one in the Froggy Park is operational. And I believe, I apologize, slipped my mind, the other remaining one, because it needed backflow preventer and some utility work, that is still being worked on. At Walnut, yeah.
Walnut Park, yeah.
Okay. Still, I got a list here. I am receiving, now that all the snow is melted and everyone's looking at our roads, a lot of phone calls about potholes. Can you please explain to our public listening, what's the best way to report a pothole so that Michael, Cassie, and his staff are not overwhelmed?
Yeah, the best way to report them is directly to Public Works. There's an email, there's also a phone number, just at the main.
roads@tenafly.net.
Yep.
That's the place.
Yep, and also a direct telephone number to report it. They are working tirelessly to address all the potholes, absolutely.
I've been getting a lot of those calls lately
Is
from
is
residents.
there a way that we could, let's ask DPW Director Cassidy, if for a period of time, we forego some other activities, the DPW, to double down on potholes? They are getting a lot worse. So it's totally up to the DPW Director on, are there some things that we don't need to do and we could push off? I'm making this up, 2 weeks. Or I would definitely be totally open if, and I'm making this up again, if we need a temp for 2 weeks that would be dedicated to offset, you know, some other work. I think it's just from a weather perspective, it's getting pretty bad.
Yes, Jeff.
All right, so to that point, one of the reasons we did bless you.
Bless you.
One of the reasons we did the recycling trucks
Yeah.
was to free up 6 full-time equivalencies in that department, because every season has something. So we've given him, we didn't have him eliminate most of those positions. He's got 6 full-time equivalencies that he should be utilizing. Leaf pickup, snow plowing, pothole filling, over the summer, putting down tar to preserve roads, microsurfacing. So every season really has something. So I understand your question, but to give up resources to do, he's got the resources there. They should be shifting seasonally. And we certainly can have that conversation with him. As to the other issue about finance committee and all that, which I am all for efficiencies, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that as the governing body, we're the board of directors, we're tasked with making some decisions. One of the things that, not tonight, but down the road, that I'm going to ask our borough administrator to start to work towards is us getting more reports so that we make better informed decisions. I know we're starting to get recreation reports of how many through Community Pass, but this pothole thing is a great example. We should not be sitting here saying, well, I'm getting a lot of calls on potholes. I don't know if a lot is 5, 50, 500, 5,000. But certainly if DPW is getting calls, they should have a list of how many complaints about potholes. And we should be getting, doesn't have to be monthly, but certainly quarterly updates from every department. When I look at what building department gives us, it's probably overkill in information, but it's phenomenal information. And that's the only department that ever gives us that. We do get daily from the police department, but even that, I'm not sitting there keeping a tally mark of all that information. We should get, actually they do monthly, do a little bit of a summary, but we should be getting more data about crimes and other things. And without this, I don't care who we task with what, we can't make decisions. And that's on us So before we go forming committees that meet in back rooms and are out of the public realm, let's get this information before us and before the public. And that's really where we need to head.
Jimmy, why don't you jump in about?
Yeah, regarding the potholes, absolutely. The mayor, Mike Cassie, and I spoke about that, and I'll speak with him again tomorrow to make sure to see how else I could support him and make sure that they're addressing that as best they can with all the resources available to them.
But ultimately, we're gonna need to have numbers.
Absolutely, that's something I will speak with all the department.
All the
supervisors.
departments. And again, I'm
we
not
do-
trying
To
to.
your point, we do keep track of who's contacting us for potholes. That's how they manage the
We
entire
do, but
process.
that's not
Right.
before the board of directors here or the
Yeah, well,
governing body. We need that information frequently so we don't have these.
Right.
And actually, I
Pie
got
in
one
the
better,
sky.
because we're all in this together, and I'll actually challenge my fellow residents. We don't know about it unless, we can't fix it if we don't know about it.
Right.
I would happily donate, a bag of Oreos, or I see our chamber president here. Maybe we could get some gifts from the downtown businesses on, hey, once a month, everyone give in their roads at tenafly.net, what the pothole is. And we'll, once a month, pick somebody that gave it in, and they get a free Miller's babka or something.
Lauren has a question.
No, you see.
Lauren, go ahead,
Sorry,
please.
I still have more on my list, Jimmy, if
Okay.
you don't mind. So we have benches that we took out of Hyler. I would like to know if we can repurpose them for both Roosevelt and Oresco parks.
I can find out what the conditions are.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just need to get power washed again.
Mhm.
But I'm constantly asking for benches in parks, as everyone knows. It would be silly not to repurpose these for our residents. I was gonna say, especially as we discuss Oresco later on tonight, they're, beautiful old wrought iron benches. They might fit more aesthetically in Oresco as we create a space for our residents. I have another one. I'm just gonna keep my hand up. I have a long list for you tonight. We have partial lighting of our downtown trees with, I call them twinkly lights with small lights. It was supposed to go, so it's on Washington. It was also supposed to go on Railroad. Do you have any status on that?
We have the budget to put electricity available at those trees.
Okay, I thought the electricity actually was fixed last year, and now we're up to actually hanging the lights. Can you check on that for me?
Absolutely, but I don't think electricity is available like it is on the other roadway where it's at each
Washington.
individual on Washington.
I thought, check it, because I actually thought we got the electric boxes on both at this point, but with COVID and delays, I'm not sure what actually got done. I think that's fine. Oh, I know one more, sorry. Field manager, our recreation department field manager is currently out. And I know we talked about, Michael Cassidy and his incredible staff over at the DPW. They are filling in for that position. And now they've actually asked help with the Board of Ed for that position. So maybe this is a joint use conversation as well. What is the status on that? Because we need field lined every weekend, 5 days a week. What's happening with that?
Yeah, you are correct that the recreation department is leaning on DPW along with the school maintenance staff to assist with us to keep afloat and do what we need to do with the timing of our staff member being out. I believe, I'm not sure if Alicia, she may have an update on the filling of that position. So Alicia, I think if you want to report on that.
Come up.
Just on that for now, but Alicia has more to report on after.
Full-time staff member is out on LOA, returning June the 7th. But today we just hired another part-time recreation aide that will be starting with us as well.
Oh, that's good news.
That part-time position that was open for about a year.
And they'll do they'll do field lining and field
They're
maintenance?
specifically going to be doing a hybrid role, which is doing the field maintenance and administrative work as well.
Okay, great. I'm sure our residents like that. Thank you.
All right, so Jimmy, why don't you go ahead?
Yep.
Continue on.
Another item I have as an update, it was brought up at the last meeting for outdoor dining to be explored for another restaurant that requested there be a block, the barriers put out to block one parking spot at a pizzeria on Washington. I did speak with that owner. I spoke with the neighbor, the neighboring business owner, that they were fine if we took the one spot dedicated to the pizzeria. I spoke with the DPW superintendent along with the police chief, who have all said that they would be comfortable with adding another outdoor dining location and putting the blockades there pending the approval of the mayor and council. This is, I don't know, Adam, if you want to get into it, I didn't want to, with respect to the businesses, I didn't want to get into the names, but if whatever you feel is.
Business we're speaking about is Paul's Pizza.
So you said the one spot in front of Paul's Pizza,
Correct.
and now with the barricades, do those take up? Sorry, does that take up the other two spots in front and behind?
No, so that was a concern of the police chief, and the barriers will be set up where it would actually be much smaller than the other barriers that are set up for that specific purpose for the cars in that park in the front and behind that spot. So it would actually be very much smaller. So there would be a good amount of space for the cars in the front and behind that space.
Done?
No, that was it for that, Lauren.
You have a question? Go ahead.
No, I want to ask about the vacant property ordinance and the enforcement of. This actually came up last night in our discussion. And so we have a significant number of stores that have not taken down their signage and are not room swept and ready to be marketable. And there was a question that came up last night, whether the ordinance applies in that way. So I'd like to actually have a meeting with code enforcement so that everyone's on the same page. Maybe get Wendy involved about the interpretation of how we can enforce this. Because
I mean, it would be helpful to be provided the addresses first for their review, because they would have to go without being.
they're on your report.
Oh, I mean, but provide that information to me and I'm. But.
Okay, so the thing is, lots of details here. Have it
Yes.
offline with code enforcement, find out what's going on with that. Then we'll take it. Are they enforcing it? Are they issuing summonses?
Okay.
So essentially, I mean, we have buildings that are half painted. We have buildings with signs that are over 10 years old. We have buildings that still have things inside that are vacant. So it's unsightly. And then the other one is the old gas station that's on the corner of, let's see if I can do this, Highwood and County.
The triangle.
The triangle has old, right at the very edge of the triangle, a really old rusted, I guess it was a light, something. It's very unsightly. I've actually called numerous times to have it code enforced and removed. I do have residents that tell me it's just not a good, it's an eyesore to our community. So I would like to check up on that.
So it's a light pole or a former light pole?
It was like part of a gas station.
Okay. Okay, I have that.
That's fine.
Yes.
All right, so continue on.
On the agenda tonight is first reading of an ordinance for, to place funding, in place for the grant that was awarded for the project at Oresco Park for the walkways, benches, and landscaping. So this would be to put the funding in place as, funds were never allocated prior to. And I may rely on Susan to speak to some of the financial mechanisms as to, as she, coordinated with the auditors on how to best approach this, as funding prior to was not put into place.
So if we reutilize and repurpose the Hyler benches, can we reduce the amount?
Yeah, but I mean, we have to take a look at the current benches, we have to look at the plans, because there are plans in place. So it's not such a simple answer, and then at that point, it's a minimal cost. But I mean, yes, obviously, it's still a cost, but I have to look at the conditions first.
The benches that went into Hyler were rather expensive, so if this is a chunk of the grant money to have new benches, I'd love to see, before we pass it tonight, I'd like to take that out of.
We're not going to be able to resolve that issue tonight.
Right, so I'd like to take it out and get an answer on that. I'd like to take that ordinance out of the consent agenda.
When we get to that point, we can have that conversation.
That's fine, so that's my question.
Anything else, the administrator's report?
Just Alicia has some items to report on the HR front.
Alicia, come on back up again. You have items on HR?
Since we talked about recruiting, I'm gonna start with recruiting. So for DPW, we just hired 3 new hires that are gonna be joining the team as of May 16th. They were all hired at step 1, so out of 5 hires, out of 5 openings, we have 3 hires starting, so we only have 2 vacancies left for the DPW department. Also for finance, we filled the full-time position for the payroll and tax clerk position, and this new hire is also starting on May the 16th. And for the recreation department, the new hire will be starting on June the 14th. So we're very excited about all the new hires joining. So hopefully that'll find some relief for DPW and finance and the recreation department. I'm recommending for Omar Solo, the borough clerk, to be appointed as the certified municipal register because we have a vacancy due to the retirement of our part-time register as of May the 1st. This recommendation is because Omar is already a certified municipal register, so it made sense to keep it in-house. And this will allow our residents to have services 5 days a week versus 2 days a week. This also allowed for a seamless transition and no lapse in services because Omar is already certified. So I'm asking everyone to, take a look at that recommendation. And it also makes sense that licensures is already housed with the borough clerk office, so everything will be in one place together. So that's the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alicia.
Okay, we're going to move into public comment section now. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. On items on the committee of the whole agenda, large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. So who is here for, who would like to make public comment? Yes, please, in the back row. You have to step up to the microphone, please, and just give us your name and your address.
That's an ordinance, not in the consent.
Good evening, Evelyn Greenberg, 167 Leroy Street. Is it on?
It's on, we hear you.
My public comment is, first of all, to thank you, Mayor Zinna, for our weekly phone calls.
Oh, you're welcome.
We found them very helpful. And I'm wondering if you could use those phone calls to also advise us when something of great import coming up in town. Not all of us read the Suburbanite carefully. For example, tonight I was coming to talk about the Clinton Inn issues. And I'm wondering if you could mention that these issues are coming up. I think it's important for the whole town to know about it, not just people who live close by. We were never informed about, we never received any notification. And I'm just wondering if you might consider doing that.
So I'll certainly think about it, consider it. One of the things about my weekly messages, on Fridays is I really do go out of the way to not advocate for things in them. And I try to deliver news for the community, whatever it might be. I certainly don't make it political at all. So I'm very cautious about keeping it very even keeled. But let me think that through a little because I do understand your point. And several people have asked me to start doing that. So okay, I thank you. I need to think it through a little bit, but I understand what you're saying.
Appreciate it because now that I've become aware of what's
Right.
happening in that part of town, I've started doing my own little research. And I just thought I should mention that Englewood Hospital, which is an acute care facility, has 289 patients. And apparently what is being planned for the Clinton Inn assisted living is something for around 145 patients. And I thought I should call those numbers to your attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. I appreciate that. Okay, who else? Yes.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. Couple comments on the food truck
as a resident, I really wish you would add a requirement to use some kind of battery-generated heat source. Having a food truck run throughout town just contributes to the general pollution. It's a nuisance. I'm not thrilled that some people can't make coffee in their kitchen or can't go downtown to buy coffee, that we have to have a truck on all the time to serve them. So I would like something that does not require the truck to be idling while it's sitting still. There are lots of air pollution requirements against this. For the Pride Day, something I saw that might help, if you can't get the bench in time, at University campus, they had poles in the ground that were painted with the Pride colors, which you might be able to make and get in on time next to a bench, just as a temporary solution. The third thing was the benches at Oresco Park, which are, because I understand, a manufacturing problem or difficulty. The old benches are back, and the National Park Service requires or suggests that national landmarks, which our train station are, have cultural landscapes, and that areas around national landmarks be reviewed before you make changes to make sure they're consistent. Even if that area isn't technically within that area, as a town where this is our central attraction or identity of the town, our park should reflect the train station. And I think it should, those benches should change, should be reviewed by the Stark Preservation Committee. And the same thing with Oresco Park, that something be consistent with that design. They already have a design. That any new benches that go in there reflect their requirements. I personally think circular would be lovely down there, but I'm not an aesthetic judge. I think the Historic Preservation Committee should rule on this. Thank you.
Thank you. So the people here in the front row, are you here? Would you like to say something? A brave soul. Let's give him a cheers. Come on. Okay, so, okay, all right, that's enough cheering. Okay, so I need you to speak into the microphone. Please, you can take your mask off if you're comfortable.
Hello?
Yes, hello. Can you give us your name and your address, what street you live on?
My name is Tomer Barnoon, and I live in 46 Kenwood Road.
Very nice. Okay, so what would you like to say?
Good evening, Mayor Mark Zena and other dignitaries. Today I'll be discussing the rebuilding and opening of the Tenafly skate park. I would like to start at the beginning with my motivation for starting my petition, which I made here. Would you guys mind if I bring it up?
Yes, you can give that to the official borough clerk right here. Now it's an official part of the public record. And you can't take it back. Go ahead.
My motivation was while passing by the demolished skate park, I began to remember all those smiles that I saw every time a kid was able to land a trick at the skate park. It was a place where kids learned to be independent while still having fun. They were able to be with other kids and have a good time in an independent sport. I would notice the diversity of the people using the park as well. Everyone at the park was able to get along and enjoy themselves without any negative feelings towards each other. Understanding diversity, I know, is one of our school district's goals. As a student myself, representing the 300 other students who have signed my petition in only a span of 3 days. I understand the need for this town to have a place for kids to safely socialize and maintain a healthy, wild, fun lifestyle. I also understand the emphasis that our town puts on the need for diversity. This park effectively accomplishes this goal of diversity. I thank you for the opportunity to discuss this on behalf of the petition signers and all those who agree with our goal. When it comes to casting your vote, I hope you seriously consider the benefits of the skate park to the students and kids of Tenafly. Any questions?
You want to come sit up here? Because I'd rather be out there, right? But so let me ask you a question. So are all your friends here skaters?
Most of them are, yes.
And you're a skater? When
Yes.
did you start skating?
When I started getting back into it a lot more, probably a year or two ago, but I started skating when I was really little.
So what made you put this petition together? What was your motivation?
My motivation, again, was just the amount of people that I've spoken to, and first of all, like licensed people, let's say psychologists, doctors, just physicians, PE teachers, and also the kids of Tenafly. A lot of the kids here want to have a sport or anything that they're able to be independent. They don't have to join a team. They don't have to be good at it. They could just have fun. And for the people who told me about it, they were really sad of what happened. As for the past 4 years ago, they demolished it. They never finished. They never started really too much. And you know, the town here, like we have pictures. I have pictures on. Wait, do I give this to anybody?
You can give that to Omar, the borough clerk.
Thank you. Thank you.
In some of these pictures, it shows cloudy days and before night, let's just say evening. There's still people there, always. No matter what time of the day it is, people want to come and have fun in Tenafly.
So when you say they demolished the park, so the group that's they, or everyone sitting up here, that's who we are, right? And one of the reasons we started taking the park apart, just so you know,
Yeah.
was because as you guys use it, you know, some of the pieces were getting old and they were getting dangerous. The plywood was coming apart, the metal. So we couldn't have it in a situation where we would knowingly let people get hurt, right? Because that would be wrong. So we had to take parts of it down, and the council has been under relatively continuous conversations about the skate park, where should the skate park be, what does it cost? So it's an ongoing conversation. Your petition and your speech tonight and bringing your friends here, of course, becomes the strongest argument in favor of a skate park that could possibly happen. Because when people come in to talk to us, we all listen. So I think if you're comfortable with it, if you gave the Omar, the borough clerk, an email address where he can communicate with you, and so that when we have additional meetings about the skate park, because it's an ongoing live conversation for the council, we can contact you and your friends can come in and advocate on behalf of the skate park.
That'd be great.
Okay?
Is there a specific way for me to contact you?
Omar's going to give, you guys share emails and you can start the connection so you can communicate.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Mayor?
Oh, sure, go ahead, Julie.
To Tomer?
Go ahead, yeah.
Sorry.
Problem. I'm Councilwoman O'Connor. I was wondering if you could just educate us as to, in the skate park, is it mostly, like what ages do you find there? Who uses it?
Honestly, like from all the time I've been there, there's like gaps of crazy age groups. I've seen kids who are 5 years old go there, 7 years old. I've seen people who are 20 years old, people my age, 12 years old, 14 years old, 15 years old. This is a sport, This is a sport where people are able to be together in a community, basically, and not care about who's stronger, who's quicker, who's better. Just do what you want to do. Have a fun time and just be you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much. Lauren, you have a question, and Jeff does? Of course, go ahead.
Sure. Couple things. I saw Ms. Russick signed it, so I see you guys got the guidance counselors involved. What other sports do you play?
I do Taekwondo, which is, I used to do football. I used to do basketball. And, yeah.
Well, thank you for being here tonight. It takes a brave soul to come on up, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jeff?
Awesome job, Tomer. I'm a teacher in middle school, so I wish half my students, were as good as you at presenting. Excellent job. I'm just curious, you have so many signatures there, most of those Tenafly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So people from Tenafly schools and,
Yeah. We have people from, oh, sorry. We have mostly the signatures are from Tenafly Middle School, Tenafly High School. We have a couple of the elementary schools since the Tenafly High School is a lot closer than, to the middle school. So I just get to walk there and go around, see what people want to support.
all right, excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to say that, I'm an attorney, right? And listening to you speak right now, you are more articulate and more well-spoken than many attorneys I know. So I just want to recognize that. You did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so Omar, you have his contact information?
Yes.
And Councilman Michaels has the petition, so we want to make that a part of the record. Okay, thank you. Who else would like, yes, gentleman over there? Then we'll go to the people out on the internet there.
Andrew Till, 124 Oxford Drive. I wish I was here tonight to talk about something else, but I just wanted to add something to the website discussion and the potholes. And honestly, I don't know, I really shouldn't do this because I'm kind of volunteering myself. But I don't know who built the website, but one of the things that I see in a lot of municipalities is an app that goes along with it that you can push and say, report a pothole.
I've been asking for it for years.
Take a picture and it just goes right to the DPW. And the gentleman did do a very nice job.
He did.
Tough
And
act to
if you're
follow.
available May 24th, you can come. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Whenever that committee comes up, I know I'm good, but, and I can maybe join.
Okay, thank you. Who else? Omar, is there anyone out there on in Zoom that would like to speak?
Howard Seiden has his hand raised.
Okay, Howie, how you doing?
Good evening, sir. Hi,
We can hear you.
Council.
Go ahead. Just, could you, Howie, please give us your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. Howard Seiden, 88 Willow Lane in Tenafly. The last caller, I won't say caller, the last person who got up mentioned one of my ideas was why not on the website have an application where you just you fill out the form, and that way you also have a record keeping, and it you'd have it probably at Borough Hall, you'd have access to it, plus the DPW, and then when they finish it off, they can close out the ticket. That would be ideal. So you have multiple ways to track it. The other thing, in terms of potholes, is the DPW following up with the utilities that are making the cuts in our streets, or the construction companies? That's one of the major problems, is that they're not filling a lot of the holes that they dig, and then wear and tear. It just continues to tear up the rest of the roadways. One other.
So,
Go ahead.
Howie, could I just answer that one question?
Yes.
About, yes, the DPW does communicate with Suez, with PSE&G continuously. There's constant dialogues with them when they tear up roads. We look for the quality of it because very often when they dig a hole, the utilities, sometimes the road that when they repatch it, it collapses. We bring them back. On Norman Place, we had a major problem. They had to come in and they had to infrared the whole roll. So the Public Works Director and the Borough Administrator are on top of that. It's a little bit of a cat and mouse game sometimes. We discover it and then we deal with it. So yes, that's very much on their radar. But go ahead, Howie. Howie? Did we lose Mr. Seiden?
No, he's still here, available.
Howie, we can't hear
I'm
you.
not sure. My phone broke.
We can hear you now. Okay,
Mayor, if I could add one additional item to that, depending on the time of the year, what's available, cold patch, hot patch. So this is more favorable when the weather is warmer for that work to be done. So even if it is done in the colder or winter months and the conditions deteriorate, we do, they're legally required to come back and repair it as a, in whole. So we do request that of them through the Public Works Department.
thank you. Howie, did you have an additional follow-up question? Sounds like no, right, Omar?
Yeah, I think we lost them, actually.
Okay, hopefully he'll dial back in. Is there anyone else there would like to speak? Omar?
I see no other hands, Mayor.
No other hands? Any hands here in public that would like to speak? Okay, all right, we're gonna close public comment time. Thank you, everyone, for your comments, especially the young skate crowd. It was very appreciative. Okay, resolutions. Any questions about the resolutions?
Yes. I'd like to pull R 22-155 out of the consent agenda for a separate vote.
Which one is that?
Shared services for technology.
So you want to have a separate vote?
I do. I would like, I know joint use met today. I don't know if this was discussed, but I'd like to hear about it if it was.
We can certainly make, it was discussed, we can certainly make comments about what we talked about.
I find this just an incredibly expensive contract for
Okay, so
inadequate service, so.
we'll pull that for a second for independent vote, okay? That's item B. Any other comments about, Jeff, please?
Yeah, I know that this is both a resolution and an ordinance item, but I do want a little more of an explanation on the Oresco Park walkway path, $90,000, because that's close to what the entire initial project was aimed at, and I do need a couple of things just to refresh recollection of what the matching grant was from the county, when the drop dead date to get it done is, so that we know, and just a general sense of why a path, even if we use a couple of benches with some oversight costs up to, and I understand we put these numbers, but since it becomes part of the public discussion, public record, that's what contractors see and that's what they're going to aim for. Oh, they want a path paved, they want the yellow brick road.
So that's 159?
That is 22,159. 22,159.
Hold on, one person at a time here.
So I just, before I can even admit, I know that it's being added also for discussion under ordinance, but I really do want to have a sense of that number, especially since the plans already existed. We didn't even have to pay someone to draw them up.
All right, so we'll pull R 22-159 for a separate vote.
So,
Or discussion.
Discussion, then a vote.
so this is, Susan, if we disagree about Oresco Park, can we still pass this as an amended version?
Well, we're going to have a vote. And depending on what the vote is, we'll determine what happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Mayor, when would you like me to answer and address those questions?
What else, I'm sorry, what else is in that ordinance? I'm confused. There's Oresco and then there says various improvements. Can somebody clarify?
Guess let's just address it now. Yeah, Susan, come on up.
As Susan's walking up, to answer the one question for the grant completion date is February of 2023. 2023, next year, next February.
February, we can't do that kind of work over winter. So realistically, it's
This fall, yeah.
October 30th, give or take.
Go ahead, Susan.
The one ordinance is the capital ordinance for the plan that we had decided to introduce tonight that the governing body spoke about at the last meeting. That's separate from the Oresco Park ordinance. The Oresco Park ordinance, the reason why it's at 90,000 now and offset by the grant that's 33,000 plus is because the gravel that's going to be the last leg of the walkway, the gravel costs have gone up, materials have increased. So we didn't want to have a shortfall in the funding. So we added about a little bit more money for that. And also there's going to have to be some site, somebody's going to have to oversee the plan and the project. So we had to account for that.
How much are the benches in that plan?
I don't know the breakdown. We had it up in front of us, Jimmy and I. So we'd have to break it all out.
Can we get a breakdown of that?
Yeah, there was about, I think there was like 2 benches, they're probably about a couple $1,000s roughly, about 2,000 or so.
I mean, because the ones in Tyler Park cost what, 30,000? So if there's a
Uh,
$30,000 bench thing in here, I want to know.
No, and that's also a different type of bench, but yeah, but we're still looking at the plans. We haven't retained the architect. Even though plans were previously made, we haven't retained the architect yet to get to that level of detail.
Okay.
So whatever we don't use, we could put back into municipal open space, but we don't want to short fund the project.
It's very high.
It,
I mean, the
you know,
whole
we had
project was
to
like
account for,
120, wasn't it?
so we were figuring maybe up to, I mean, I understand, Jimmy tried to see about the cost for the architect. So they basically said, I think it was what, up to 17,000.
It was just shy of 17,000, 16.
So when I'm adding it up, and of course we could try to maybe, but he's the guy who did the plan in the first place.
Again, why do we need an architect? We already had a plan. We're just finishing the piece of the plan. Why do we need an architect on
It was made as an alternate on the original plans. And so now you still have to make the bid specifications specific to this. Because those, it was made, this prior specifications were made for the first part with an alternate, which was not, which was decided to not pursue at the time. So you still have to do updated drawings and the bid specs. I mean, granted, a lot of it is already done, a good amount of it is already done, but
We're talking about a walking path. I mean,
So how much is, of the 90,000, 17,000 is for professionals?
17 for professionals, I added an extra about 7.
I mean,
Walkway, I don't know.
What?
if it's-
Added what?
I added about 7,000 for the cost of materials. Materials have skyrocketed,
so this is
all materials.
There is a
But if we don't use it, put it back in municipal open space.
So.
I had to take 90
You want me to stop the
to cover the cost, because when the cost comes in, we have to pay for it. That's gonna be done relatively soon. And then when we get we can submit the expense for reimbursement, and that's when we'll get the money back, and we can put that back into open space
Reimbursement from who?
from the county.
For the grant. So how much of that money is the county and how much of it's our money?
About 33,000, and then 57.
57 is ours?
Yeah.
so crazy question.
Go ahead.
This is an extension of a path. How much would it cost to order the materials and actually have our DPW do it?
We can't even begin to have that conversation without.
Again, this is $90,000 of open space and Bergen open space that we can reimagine Oresco, like.
So, I mean, how does the council feel about this? Do you want to reconsider it?
I'd like to hear a little bit more from Susan. I feel like there's a little bit more you'd like to say.
I think that, I don't know if the scope of work would be affected by changing what we already submitted to the county.
Yeah,
Could be.
so we can't on the fly here decide construction specifications and how much money we'd save. It's either do you want it in there or not want it in there? And if it's not in there, then we'll reconsider the details.
So
But how does that affect the grant?
It could affect the grant. Any change in the scope of the work could affect the grant.
yeah, if I could chime in just real quickly, just on that. The original application was submitted. So if we, to Susan's point, if we deviate from that, not to say that it's wrong, but we still have to get approval. And there's certain requirements that have to be met, including using certain engineering firms or certain engineers that have certain expertise in this field. So again, not saying that it can't be done, but if something that wants to be pursued, we first have to see from the county if they would approve that change.
So I'm
So
gonna,
wait, I have a question, a clarifying
go
question
ahead.
for
I gotta
Jimmy.
make a point.
So we applied and said, for $90,000, we're gonna fix a walking path. That's the application.
Actually, that's not.
What is the application for the second part for 90?
It's for 60-something thousand with a matching grant.
Okay.
I don't know, did you try to ask, I think we were told by the engineer that we asked if we could go back and ask for more of a match. And
So-
our engineer said we couldn't. I believe that's what
So
happened.
I just want to clarify. So if we don't do the plan that we've applied for the grant and we deviate from it, they can take the grant money back.
They never reimburse you.
So
They
again,
won't
if you
reimburse
apply
us.
for a grant and you deviate from it, they can take the grant money back.
So-
Let's just say that again, out
Well,
loud.
deviate from what we applied for in the match. If we want to add more of our own funds, you could do that.
Sure, we can always do our own
Okay,
work.
let's do-
If
Hold
we
on a
apply
second.
for a grant and we deviate from the grant,
So-
they can take the grant money back.
They never reimburse you.
They won't
If I could just, if I
ahead,
could,
Jimmy.
if I could just clarify one item. So, yes, the short answer is yes, but I would not pursue any work without their approval first. We did this with the Roosevelt Monument where some items were changed, same thing with the train station. So, again, not to say that you can't do it or it's wrong, but you have to get their approval first. Then you run into that risk if you don't.
So I remember a few years back over at Stillman School, the school was replacing the sidewalk on Hamilton Place. And they applied for a grant.
Safe streets to school.
And the engineering requirements were such, the state or the county engineering requirements were such that
Federal.
the engineering costs, whichever government level, the engineering costs so grossly exceeded the cost of the actual construction, the requirements, that the school rejected the grant and produced it for less money than their share of it. So if the council wants to reconsider this, we just pull it out and reconsider doing it another way. Are we able to do that?
Can I just say where my head is at? I'm sorry, Susan, you had to say.
First,
you
yeah, I
wanted to say
want
something.
to answer the question of can we do that if we want?
Timeline was it that we had to get this done?
February
I-
2023.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the mayor's question is pointed regardless of the grant or aside from the grant or.
Yeah, in other words, can we, if the council doesn't want, if the council chooses not to vote on this tonight and spend the money, can we pull this from the ordinance?
Well, yeah, you
Wait, time out.
don't have to introduce it tonight.
We already awarded this. We already
Yes.
won 33.
We already
You
won. the
already
grant.
got the approval for the grant, but
But
if
to the mayor's point, we might be able to do it for less than.
Right.
Can I maybe like talk this out and see if other council people agree with me? I think what the concern is, of course, the cost, right, from our side. At the same time, we have $33,000 that would be covered from the county, which is not nothing, right? I'm also listening to the reality that these, construction costs, material costs have skyrocketed. They're not necessarily going down, within this year. So I think that what my appetite would be, is there a way to lower the cost of the project in a way, I'm filling that in, and still keep the $33,000? I think that's what I'd ultimately like to see. So let's say rather than a $90,000 project, it turns into a $70,000 project with $33,000 matched from the grant,
We already
but
had.
from the county. Is that possible without everyone grabbing their ball and bat and going home? Is that possible?
So you started with this one architect who did the previous plan and oversaw the project. So now you'd have to get a new person to oversee it with the extension of the arm. And he also has the plans for it. There's a possibility that we could go back to him and say, $17,000 is too much. We would like to see if you could come in less than that. The governing bodies having, difficulty seeing why this is so much when you already developed the plan, and just go back to him and say that. There's nothing wrong with us doing that, but to get somebody else to oversee a project that somebody else already did the plans on, has the plans and understands the project, I don't know if you would get a cost that much less in today's world. So that's part of the problem, and the gravel is going to be the gravel. The cost of all the materials that we're seeing, they just skyrocketed.
Would it behoove you to be possibly more direct with, can you bring the price down? Like, what is our magic number here that we want that price brought down? I'm just looking for, what are we thinking? Councilman Grossman?
I'm thinking 90. You
Is-
could build a miniature house there.
Right. She's thinking that it's the gentleman who could bring the price down, not necessarily the material. So I think, like, we gotta.
Well, actually, I don't know. The material they used, I don't know how many people remember, but when that first path was put in from around where the mailboxes are to the center, that whole thing fell apart fast. It was not great. The way the gravel was put in did not work. It all fell apart quickly and had to be redone. So I don't want
We have to look at the
to.
vendor who did.
I'm
that,
sorry?
so We'd have to look at how it was constructed and the vendor
So-
who put it in.
Can this be tabled for another meeting?
Yeah, I was gonna make a suggestion.
Why bother?
If I may make it,
But Jimmy, did I ask him? Usually I might try to get the price down. while I'm
yeah,
on
I mean, I don't know how
the
much they're gonna bud.
phone. So I might have asked him already.
So let's focus for a second. The council's decision is, do you want to pull it tonight, yes or no? Because we can't do any of the homework tonight. So if you want to pull it, it certainly sounds like there's enough questions that we should not be voting on this tonight.
I'm for pulling it to get answers. However, we have, as I said, October 30th is a drop dead really because we get into winter months. So we can't put this forward very
It
far.
has to be resolved by the next meeting.
Has to be.
Next meeting, yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
I mean, you could still pass the ordinance and we could still work on this and then whatever we don't use, we could put back.
But that's an approach.
Because you're gonna have to wait for the first reading, then the second reading, then 10 days stop.
So what are you saying? Do the first reading tonight?
And we could get
Yeah,
information.
That makes sense.
Get more information.
Okay, that's fine.
Yes.
And
Would you gonna say something? Go ahead.
Motion to amend it for the second reading.
Okay, let me write that down.
yeah, also if I may make a suggestion in between, I am looking to schedule a engineering and DPW committee meeting next week. So I think that might be a fair topic to discuss to see realistically with our engineer, although he would not be overseeing this project
You could give
as
us-
proposed, to see between him and our DPW director if the feasibility and realistic option of to be able to bring it in-house, or since we have a higher bid threshold, to see if we're able to bring it within the bid threshold and still meet the grant county grant guidelines.
Okay, Dan, you have a question?
No.
All right.
44,000.
So we are going for it tonight then, and then amend it.
Yeah, the motion tonight. Go ahead.
Can I go back to my original question then? So Susan, and there's a temporary budget ordinance in the consent agenda. There's the 90,000 for a rescue, but then there's 24,000 for various improvements. What is that for?
There should be, think over 1 million. That's the second part of our capital plan, 1 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's 24 million. Sorry, that's a comma, not a dot.
We're not borrowing 24 million.
You're borrowing 1,732,000. That's the debt that you're gonna.
So if I don't want to pass the Oresco Park, I have to say no to this ordinance?
No, it's two separate ordinances. This one, we're borrowing.
You wrote it as one ordinance, though, one resolution.
So
It's written as one.
One resolution.
It's written as one.
2211 is the.
Oh, one resolution.
No, but it's
So I think that.
22,159 though, has Oresco Park for 90 in it.
I think we'd have to amend, this is an attorney question, but we have to amend.
Come on up, attorney.
Okay, wait, one at a time.
Here
Susan,
comes
what do you
Wendy,
think?
here comes Wendy.
The resolution has two ordinances.
So the resolution is your budget adoption. This is an appropriation. Once you get the money to do it, then it's ordinance to say where it's going. So that's the next step. So you could pass the resolution budget. That money's in your budget, but you're not going to be able to spend it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, that clarifies this.
So,
Thank you.
These are all.
I don't need to pull 22,159, even if I don't want to pass 90,000 for it.
Correct. Okay.
Confirming that.
Any more questions about the resolutions?
Someone's talking online.
Any more questions on the resolutions? Okay.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry, 162. What is this Piermont project?
That is for the downtown revitalization engineer. to go out for RFP.
Thank you. Okay, it would be good if that was clarified.
Okay, any questions about the public hearings tonight?
Yes. I'm sorry, so it's the same thing for Resco. Okay, that's it.
Okay, any questions about the minutes? Anything for the good of the order? Old
Yeah.
business as we,
I have good of the order.
oh, go ahead.
You know what, I'll wait till next meeting. Go ahead.
Okay. Old business, we are postponing the Dean Drive redevelopment plan as discussed earlier. And we're also postponing the recreation usage update till next week because Jamie was not available to this evening. She'll be here at the next meeting. Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn to the regular meeting, please? Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we're going to go right into the public meeting. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, the notice requirements have been satisfied. The meeting dates for the year are confirmed at the annual meeting, are posted on the public bulletin board in the lobby of the Municipal Center and published in the record within the first 10 days of the new year. Salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Okay, Omar, could I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Dayton,
Here.
Councilmember Grossman,
Here.
Councilmember Menon,
Here.
Councilmember Michaels, Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Here.
Councilmember Park, Mayor Zena.
Here. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of April 26, 2022 and May 3rd, 2022?
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
I got that right this
You
time.
got it.
Usually I call for a roll call. Okay, are there any revisions to the agenda?
Wasn't I pulling something out?
That's your cue. Any revisions to the agenda?
No.
Okay.
You're going to do a separate vote from consent agenda or 22-159.
Thank you.
No, and 155.
Right.
Yes, I call for 155 as well.
All right, so now we're in public comment. Audience members wishing to speak will have a 3-minute time limit to address the governing body. Large groups are asked to have a spokesperson represent them. Is there anyone present in the chambers who would like to speak? Come up to the microphone, please.
Christine Evron, 39 Leroy Street. One thing from the work session on the rodents. California had a lot of success in their trial runs with contraceptives that they put in the little black box. And they found that that mitigated the rodent problem, something to look into. The other thing is that I wrote a critique of the 22-03 ordinance. I would seriously like you to rescind that ordinance, especially since you're hiring an engineer to flesh out those projects. I think premature work on spending the ARP money before you have a handle on the projects you're looking at will end up that you will not have enough money to do the thing, a couple of things in town that we want to do, and we'll end up with nothing. That's what I'm afraid of. Thank you.
Thank you. Omar, are there any members of the public out on Zoom or WebEx that would like to speak?
Yes, Howard Seiden has his hand raised.
Okay, Howie, how are you doing again? Just give us your name and address for the record.
Okay, we'll try this again. Sorry about that before. Thank you. Howard Seiden, 88 Willow Lane, Tenafly. First, I'd like to thank the mayor and council because you guys, no matter what decision you make on anything, somebody's always going to find it wrong. And you guys all do the best you can do. And I appreciate all the time and effort that you guys put in away from your families. So thank you. I missed your response about the potholes before. I'm sorry about that. Just my phone froze up. Somebody called me and the phone froze and I couldn't get out of it. The other things that I wanted to mention before, and I know you canceled the Clinton Inn for tonight, and I don't know how the ambulance corps feels about it. And perhaps I should let them dictate. But another nursing facility in town, the one thing I have is the overburden on our emergency services. I hear them going to that Brightview nursing home all the time, County Manor all the time, and they volunteer and they do an outstanding job. And I don't know if there's a way to provision in this for that, in most cases that they should attempt to use a private company or the hospital, just because they're taxing the number of calls on our volunteers. Maybe our volunteers are fine with it. And if that's the case, then continue. And Lauren, thank you for bringing up repurposing the benches. That's really, I think, very important to not just discard things that are not in bad shape. And thank you guys again very much for the time to speak.
Thank you, Howie. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thanks, Howie.
Omar, are there any other members of the public who would like to speak? Of course, come up. Anyone out on Zoom?
See no hands, Mayor. Andrew Till, 124 Oxford. I just want to clarify one thing that came from Mr. Seiden. The Dean Drive development is not nursing care, it's assisted living. So I just want to be clear on we've spoken to Councilman Park and just spoken about TVAC issues, but many of the other comparable facilities don't have, like a nursing facility, don't have drag on ambulance corps. Most of the use of ambulances are for transportation to appointments and whatever, and they use private carriers for that. They do not call the ambulance corps to utilize. So I just want to be clear that it is not nursing. It is not nursing care.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, doesn't look like there's anyone else there, Omar, who would like to speak?
See no hands, sir.
Okay, so we're going to close public comment, and I'm going to ask for a motion on, and correct me if I mess this up. Resolutions R22-154, R22-156 through R22-158, and R22-160 through R22-162. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Could I have a second? All in favor? Oh, roll call, excuse me. Roll call, please, Omar.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to ask for a motion for R22-155, please.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Omar, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I asked for a discussion on this. There was a recap today at the.
Oh, you're right.
So
No,
I
you
would
did
like to
ask that
hear,
question. You want to do that
let's hear the information
recap?
before the vote.
Yeah, sure, we'll just talk about what we said.
Yeah, would you like a recap just as it's specific to the shared service agreement?
Yeah, whatever the,
I
whatever
mean,
was discussed today, because we did bring up a lot of issues and concerns with this service.
yeah, I spoke with Bob Caputo, and this is something that everything that was mentioned, we'd be able to address. We do have to, all requests have to be submitted through their help desk, as that's how they track it. So as it relates to the council, me and my staff will be happy to submit any requests on their behalf. So this should be something that they be emailed directly about or contacted directly about outside of emergencies. But everything in terms of training, onboarding, of course, will all be addressed. That's in the shared service agreement, that they do have to train and onboard.
Do we get a designated person for, especially for something like our finance office, which needs admins coming on and offline? Do we have any discussion of those kind of details here?
No, I mean, their staff they're providing the service, not a specific staff member, but usually we get one of the same ones depending on what the issue is.
Well, I'm just going to turn this to my fellow council. It's incredibly expensive. It escalates the cost for 4 years. It doesn't even stay stagnant. It has been subpar, to say the least. We've heard from various employees within our borough that they're not satisfied with the services. As a councilwoman, I'm not satisfied with these services. I'm not sure why we need to spend 6 figures on services we're not satisfied with. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Comments from other council members?
Oh, Alicia, did you have something to say?
Our HR director?
Oh, no.
Julie?
So I remember us discussing with the gentleman who was here during budget time that there were different opportunities that we could take advantage of, and he was gonna like do better in the sense of communicating with us regarding some of the holes. So I'm just, I'm willing to give it a chance because I know that there were some things he said that we did not really know about or utilize. And so I trust Jimmy, I guess you've already had those follow-up discussions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, part of their contract is to provide training. And specifically as it relates to the council, we could do something, once a year as a refresher. They do have videos and breakdowns, but we could coordinate something that's, like actual training for for onboarding council members, because we do provide that to the employees.
Sorry, some of our professionals also want to weigh in on the discussion.
Dan, you have a question?
This is a textbook shared services agreement. The IT budget over there is over $2 million, and we're getting it for a fraction of the price. This is textbook shared service.
Can I hear
Textbook.
from our?
Hold on, I want to hear what the council has to say first. Go ahead, council members. Any other comments? I think Alicia, you wanted to make a comment, and then Susan? Only because you had your hand up first.
One thing I would like to see, they're not available, we have employees that's under the setting up. I can't have that. Run into comps issues. Just recently with our last hire, we literally had our own staff setting up the computer equipment. That's unacceptable. Also, we have issues throughout the day where printers are not working, you can't scan things, and we have to wait to get services. My printer been down for 3 weeks. What I would like to see is that I hope in the agreement that they give us some support where they come here a few days a week, twice a month, something where they are available to our staff. That's very important.
It's not in there. It's not in there.
I thought the
Susan,
dedicated
go ahead.
person.
So everyone knows I'm going on the cloud with Edmonds. It's in our budget. So I won't need the Board of Ed to assist when we have updates to Edmonds, which I always had to coordinate with Edmonds and the Board of Ed to work together to do these updates. It was slowing down productivity in my department. It's a minimal cost. I'd like to see maybe we could reduce the cost of those since they're not going to be supporting us with Edmonds. One of the factors, though, that we need is a server, and the Board of Ed has the server. I don't even know where we would have room for a server right now or the cost of that. But that's why one of the reasons why we do use the Board of Ed. But I do believe that we should have a set minimum amount of hours for maintenance.
I will say that, after our discussions, this should have been renegotiated and contract terms should have been added here. It's silent on everything we've asked for, and all it does is raise money. My family is actually in this business. My sister-in-law runs an IT company that has servers that host municipalities in upstate New York, not anywhere near here. And she does this for municipalities, and I asked her about this. She thinks these prices are not standard. They're very high for the services that she offers. And again, it's a different area. I get that, but it's like nowhere near market rate. We're getting taken here, guys, and we're not getting the services. Our borough employees are not getting the services. I would rather see a renegotiation of this contract.
Didn't we, I thought someone told me, we looked at what it would cost to do something similar. And the number was like an order of magnitude more. Again, I think service is important. I think that we should be clear on the service levels. Again, in my world, you'd have, if you don't meet those, there's penalties. I want to do that. But I don't believe, it's $100,000 for all intents and services. All in services.
We're not getting the services we need, and that's the.
I'm just saying to have a dedicated person here, to have all the stuff ourselves, to Dan's point, It'd be order of magnitude more than this.
So I'd like to see this contract then renegotiated with terms that favor our borough. Because I think that those terms are silent here. We didn't do that work.
Chuck?
Yeah, to Councilman Michael's point, it also includes all the software that they're providing us. Look,
Hardware.
unfortunately, you know, we could dump this and bring in somebody. Our track record is not great on something like that because we spent a fortune for redoing our entire web, and we had to spend more money to fix it, and we're still not happy, and we want to spend more money to fix it. So the solution is we have part of the borough that works with us. It is a great deal. If we're not happy with all the service, that's fixable. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, which is basically what's being the alternative to this. So let's get better service. That's great. They should be here when we're onboarding new hires. I don't know how much in advance you give them notice that we have a new hire starting here and need set up. I know that's probably something that they probably need a couple of weeks, right? And 1 week, probably. I mean, it's municipality, so they probably need a week, not 48 hours. And we need to work with them to figure that kind of thing out. But I would be in favor of at least these numbers do make sense. It's not just a server, it's so much more.
So if the council is inclined to pass this, it would behoove us then to ask for our attorney to renegotiate and add in terms here that are specific to our borough. It's silent on them. We can add those contracts in, we can add those terms in for negotiation before we pass this.
Right, how much more are you willing to allocate in money for those?
Zero,
Okay,
zero. They should be included in the $129,000 they're charging us.
All right, so let's call the question. I'm going to ask for a motion on this.
Motion,
Mayor,
so moved, sorry.
Oh, we already made it? So who?
We haven't voted yet.
Okay, so call the roll
Hey,
call.
can I just ask really quick before you call the vote?
Go ahead.
Since Jimmy mentioned that he already had these discussions about them coming to getting this more in-person attention, is it the type of thing where we could add one or two of those lines without more money? I mean, is there no way to
What do you-
do it?
We can, it's a contract negotiation.
What are you asking
We
for?
can.
About, well, the elements of the person who would be required to service the borough in a in-person manner, the ones that Jimmy's already said he's had those discussions, and I guess Alicia's already had those discussions. Why can't we like codify that? I guess the concern that Councilwoman Dayton's saying is that none of that stuff is in this contract.
So in the contract now, they would have to respond within 24 hours. Obviously, depending if there's something urgent going on or some of these things hearing it for the first time and not knowing some of these issues have existed is also another issue where I should be notified if there's an issue with servicing from IT. If we did request from them, just pulling out of thin air, hey, we want someone here 1 day a week, just completely at the borough. Yes, it is a negotiation, but it's a change to what they've provided in the past. So I would imagine they would seek additional funds for that service.
In the contract.
Yeah, if you submit through their help desk, which a lot of times they do have issues, or I don't say issues, but they do see a lot from the borough being contacted in other ways than that way. I have a good rapport because not everyone should be calling the head of IT over there for minor issues. If I'm aware of an issue, I call him directly, just kind of crack the whip, for lack of a better term, and they address it. So a lot of the times they look back at their help desk and don't see any submission from time to time. So that's also an educational and operational thing on our standpoint that we have to understand better. And if there is an issue, if they're not upholding to that, then I have to be made aware, and then I would speak with them to address that. But 9 out of 10 times, it wasn't submitted the proper way.
To your point, when I myself was onboarded, I think the problem was at our borough level, so I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, and going forward now, obviously, being in my position now for this amount of time and understanding how these things work, and having the contacts with the individuals directly and having a good working relationship with them, I do believe that we'd be in a better spot. Yes, I think it would be great to add some of these elements, but of course, it would come at a cost.
Yes or no?
So, but you would be the one that would communicate with our employees, with the staff in the borough, what the procedure is, right? So, so you'll communicate that with the borough.
Yeah, I'll reemphasize the proper way to submit a help ticket with the employees in the borough, absolutely.
Lauren?
So I have a suggestion. This is a 4-year contract. I'd like to make it a 1-year or 2-year contract. I think it would behoove us to reanalyze this. We have actually asked for a designated person here. The answer was no. We've asked for somebody to be on call for our borough. The answer was no. This isn't the first time we've had this negotiation. This isn't the first time we've discussed this contract. It would be ridiculous of our council to sign a 5-year contract right now.
But,
It was 10.
It was 10, it was ridiculous.
Again, it should be 1 and let them actually do the services that we need.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Let's call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dayton?
I'm going to stop you right there because actually the question should we be renegotiating the contract? Not should we be just passing it?
Okay, so there's a motion and a second on the floor, and the council gets to decide whether they want to do this or not.
So it's already a motion and a second?
Right. Right.
So I'm proposing we renegotiate a significant number of these terms, especially the 5-year. So I'm a no.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion on R22-159, please.
So moved.
Could I have a second?
Second.
Any questions from the council on this? Okay, Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton?
Sorry, is this the one that we are separating out the walkway from the?
It's grouped together. So
It's appropriating it. Not,
it's
sorry.
appropriating the
I'm sorry.
money for it.
What's the word I'm looking
It's
for?
not appropriating money.
It's not, Susan,
This is appropriate the money.
what is the temporary capital
Hold on,
budget?
time out a second. Rebecca, do you want to answer that question?
So,
Yes.
when Wendy came up here before, she clarified that you're making the budget, and then later on is when you vote to take a portion of that and allocate it to certain items.
But the
We're
issue is,
budgeting for it, we're not appropriating it.
right,
Yes.
just to make sure though, by approving this, that means we're taxing the residents the $90,000.
Yes.
And if we decide not to use it, we can't give the residents back the money, it just goes back into the surplus.
No, that's in the ordinance. That's separate.
It's a separate thing and the money.
So what's the effect of this?
To your point, the answer is no.
5%.
So this doesn't set the tax.
5%.
It does not. The ordinance does, which follows below.
So what's the effect of passing this now with Oresco in it?
Susan, would you like to jump in and comment, it looks like? Just come up to the microphone, please.
4,500.
The 90,000 for the Resco Park, you could cancel it and if the project isn't done.
Okay.
But and that doesn't go into the tax rate.
The 5%.
We've already collected taxes on the municipal open space. The money's already been put into a trust fund. The taxes have already been collected. You're not going to collect them.
Oh, because this is open space money.
Yes,
So why is it in?
yeah.
Okay, so
Thank you.
do we have a motion on the floor?
Yes, so
Motion and second.
Okay, second?
Go ahead.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dayton?
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman?
Yes.
Councilmember Menon?
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels?
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilmember Park?
yes.
Okay. Going to, it's public meeting time. Okay, ordinance 2208, COLA. Omar, could you please read the confirmation of publication of the ordinance and the title?
Sure. Ordinance number 22-08. It was published in the April 29th edition of the record. It is an ordinance for the calendar year 2022, ordinance to exceed municipal budget appropriation limits and establish a cap bank.
I'd like to open the floor for public comments on ordinance 22-08 only, please. Are there any members of the public here that would like to speak? Are there any members of the public and on Zoom that would like to speak?
See no hands, Mayor.
No? Okay. Councilman Park, would you like to make the motion on 20?
Before the motion, can we just have a brief explanation of what we're doing from?
Sure. Susan, would you like to come up?
Before we even have a motion.
You want to run through the numbers?
Yes. Which did you want to-
Summarize what this ordinance would do.
So there's caps that are instituted by the state, and this ordinance allows you to go over that cap. There's banks that are established through memo form on the budget. It's just memo form. Doesn't affect the numbers any.
So this allows us to
Go
increase
over.
taxes by a higher percent than would be allowed by state?
It's a memo calculation. So whatever the tax rate is that we already established when we were discussing, I think it was like $160 or whatever I put in for the rate, that's the rate. This ordinance just allows us to go over the cap, and it puts us in if you look at the budget, you'll see a memo calculation, or this is a calculation that's on there. It's just a memo. It shows you how you could go up. I mean, I don't have it in front of me.
Why did I
Yeah.
get that?
It doesn't affect anything that we've already discussed. It's just a memo calculation. The ordinance.
So this isn't the actual budget or any of that?
No. Let me see. Yeah, so it's 2.5% in this memo calculation. You can go up to 3.5%. If you go through some of the budget documents, you'll see a page in there for the levy cap, and you'll see another page in there for the budget cap. And this just allows you to go over that amount. It's just like I said, a memo calculation. And if anybody wanted to see how it's done, they can come to my office and I could take you through all the numbers.
Okay.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Councilman Park, would you like to make the motion here?
I move to pass and adopt on second and final reading ordinance 22-08, and that notice of same shall be published according to law.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Dayton,
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman,
Yes.
Councilmember Menon,
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels,
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor,
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, committee reports. I'll start to our left here. Councilwoman Dr. O'Connor, go ahead.
Sure. First up, the COVID Memorial Committee. We've met and we're looking at Davis Johnson Park for a possible memorial location. Our DPW director and our BA have been brought into discussions with this, and our finance officer will be working with us on possible purchase options for the memorial, funding sources, the like. But I wanted to let everyone know that Councilman Menon and I have been proceeding with that project. Additionally, my other committee, the Environmental Commission, very supportive of the SGAR ban. And I believe that probably Omar, you would have received a word from them of their endorsement of us banning it in the town. If not, but they were going to be sending a letter of support, the Environmental Commission, that they would like SGARs to be, gotten rid of in our town. We had a very successful trash-a-thon. It really was a wonderful day, great weather, and cleaned up so many areas and raised also some awareness, most importantly. And as people might see, these green cardboard bins that were donated by the Subaru company. You'll see some in Borough Hall, you'll see some by the library well, and that's for, they have very specific recycling needs, like, for your plastic cups or for your masks, and then those will get recycled into different objects. So please utilize those. We can't leave them outside because they're made of cardboard, so before they get collected, please use them. Look for articles in our next town newsletter. There's going to be an article explaining the new plastic bag ban that has gone into effect in New Jersey. And also we have an article educating people as to backyard and home composting and actions people can take with that. So those are some of the things we've been working on.
Thank you. Councilman Michaels.
Not much to report. We had a joint use meeting today, which went well. Good discussions on just a quick preview for the rec stuff that Jamie will share next month at the next meeting. As you'd expect, very high utilization of our fields. You'll see that in the report. So the joint use meeting, we actually had 2 separate topics in joint use today about finding ways to expand the usage of the fields that we have together as a community, both the district and the council. That's the major thing to report.
Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Question, sure.
What happened with the field discussion for the TLO field?
It was good. So we're looking into a number of different options. It was a good conversation in the sense that they're open to talking about things. We came up with 2 or 3 different options that they're going to come back with. So that went really well. And then again, Geisinger Field is another one, the netting that I think I spoke about last time. We have a quote, which is great, thanks to Mario and the team. Now we have to go back. Obviously, I'm biased. I believe this is a community organized thing that all of our residents could use. So I would think that we'd want to share the cost. The initial reaction from the district was that it was not a priority for them, but they were going to go back to they have a facilities meeting in the middle of June. My hope is that they'll see that this is a community event and split the cost. If not, we'll have to come back to this council and see if we could fund it or if we privately fund it. But what that would do is, and the mayor asked a good question, which we'll get back to pretty quickly, how many hours does it open up? Again, sneak preview, you're going to see in the spring and the fall, municipal field is literally over 100% utilized, meaning multiple people have to be on it at the same time, which is not ideal. We need to open that up. So if we can get, we can't get Geisinger until I think past 8 o'clock at night. Obviously, it'd be a little rude to send our 6-year-old kids to Geisinger at 11 p.m. If we could put the netting up, now you could literally start at 4 o'clock. And that opens up 4 hours times 5 days times 13 weeks in et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we'll come back with quickly.
Did we ever get an answer, and Wendy, I'm throwing this one to you, on whether open space trust funds can be used for the TLO field? What are the rules?
We have to have some level of ownership, whether it be
Right, we
leasing
have
it for
an
a trillion
interest in it.
years or actually owning it, or
Okay, so that's to be continued.
I'm optimistic. It was a good meeting.
Just on the Geisinger Field, it'd be interesting to see. I don't remember what the agreement was with the Board of Ed. Have you guys looked at that? Because when we put open space into that previously, it was with an agreement that we would have a certain amount of use of that
I think
field.
it's 40 to 45% is the
40
number.
to 45%?
That's our usage of the field, yes.
All right, is that defined in hours or?
Okay, so
40 to 45%
right,
is
and I
interesting.
believe, because I was on the council at the time, I believe that does get that granular in terms of scheduling hours per week, but I don't know how many hours that translates
Because
to.
I think that goes to the point you were raising about.
But the agreement does speak to the details.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
Jamie will also come to you and tell you if we could levitate the Sunnyside field, that would also increase the amount of use.
Yeah, that would be.
My whole softball season has been rained out on Sunnyside. It's just not usable for the spring. It's
Sorry.
and that's the only softball field in town for 140 softball players.
Manu, please.
And just one meeting to talk about, the Board of Adjustment. There was one application that came up and this is on the corner of Wilkins and Ivy Lane, where they wanted to relocate the garage and the driveway from, right now it was letting out on Ivy Lane, and they wanted to move it over to the Wilkins side. But in adding, they also wanted to add a portico on top of the garage, and that ended up increasing the building coverage, but it was very nominal. Anyway, bottom line, they approved it it was unanimously approved. Oh, that was it.
Thank you. Lauren, please.
Couple events coming up. I want to let our new residents know that tomorrow the Welcoming Committee is hosting an event here at Borough Hall at Peace Plaza outside for any new residents who want to come and get information. And I hope the council can come and stop by between 6 and 8 to come say hello to our newest residents. And that'll be the residents actually for a year and a half. We're trying to extend it because we did miss some new resident events as people moved in during the pandemic. This weekend is Tenafly Nature Center's annual dinner. I hope that all of us at the mayor and council table have tickets. I hope we all support, and I hope our community comes out to support our amazing nature center and all the good works that they do. On June 1st will be our Pride Day flag raising. It'll be at 3:30, right as the schools let out. And usually it's done by our GSA, Gay and Straight Alliance clubs of the middle school and the high school. And our Pride Parade will take place June 11th at 1:30. You can let Natalie Kavanaugh know if you're interested in making any sort of speech or donation towards the Pride Committee. They are trying to fundraise for additional Pride flags. And Jimmy, this one's for you. I actually ordered some flags as a donation to give to you and the DPW to hang.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. Just, for the street pole, like the light poles?
Yeah, like full out big flags. I did that.
Okay, I would just want to make sure the specifications were,
They were like outdoor, you know.
in terms of, well, not just
Right,
the
right.
outdoor use, but also size. So I'm sure that's fine, but if you could let me know just. to
Right,
double
I'll
check.
give them to you. If they're
Yeah.
not, they're Amazon, they'll go back.
Perfect. Thank you.
So-
That's wonderful.
That's it. Police didn't meet, DPW didn't meet, Senior Services meets tomorrow. And Senior Services obviously still wants the website updated, and that's everything.
All right, Jeff.
Just pulling up one thing here, half a second. Okay. I'm going to start with HPC, the Historic Preservation. This is really awesome. They did not have a meeting last Thursday because the mayor and I actually attended the 2022 Bergen County Historic Preservation Awards because the Tenafly Historic Preservation Commission was an award recipient for publication of the walking tour that we've all gotten copies of. And it was really nice.
Very nice.
Commissioner Amorosa was there and she said some opening words and then just, it was very exciting because they've worked so hard. Karen News, David Wall, all worked so hard. And Kat, who also did all the design work for it, and they deserve the award and they deserve that we know about it and recognize that they had this tremendous achievement. So that's my HPC.
Yeah, I actually think they're trying to give out the walking tour tomorrow at the welcoming event.
Okay,
To
good.
residents.
Anybody who's involved should go. I did miss the stigma-free committee meeting last night because I was here. So I will report on that next time.
There's a line out.
There is a Lime Out. I was going to mention that. Please don't. Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
There's a Lime Out coming up this Friday. The Lime Out is becoming an annual tradition of recognizing just struggles that people are having with mental health issues, especially during the pandemic. Then TVAC met And one of the things I'm trying to do every month is give you their numbers, because I say we should have reports. They responded in the month of March to 58 calls in that month, which is pretty consistent with the prior months. 24 of which were trauma. Their average response time is 8 minutes, and their average time on a call is 44 minutes, which means they're spending a lot of time every time they get called, and these are all volunteers. The other thing that was of importance, and they attend a lot of the town's events, they did have one of the rigs out, rig is ambulance out for service for quick repairs, so that's no biggie. But they also, talking about recognitions, they were recognized. NBC News did a story where they were recognized. Turns out that there was a bicycle accident, and I think it was a reporter with NBC may have been involved, and just was so thankful, the wonderful job they did, that they got in on the story. And I'm not sure, it did air, but I'm not sure the exact date, but you should look for that on the morning show, NBC. And also, as that, a good reminder, this person who was in the bicycle accident, minimal injuries to the head because of a helmet. And
Can we post that
it's,
to the website? Could we find that clip and post that to the website? Because I didn't.
should be able
Our
to.
town website?
Yeah, should be able to find that. I'll take a look.
That'd be really good.
But it's a good reminder, even though helmets are only required for those, I think, under the age of 18 by law, although I see a lot under 18 riding without. We did have one person in town under 18 several years ago who had a bicycle accident and was in a coma for a while. So please, just everybody, you know what? It may not look cool. I get that. My students tell me that all the time. But if it saves your life, it's worth it. It's worth having helmet hair. So wear a helmet. That's my reports.
Thank you. Dan?
The Municipal Alliance CAP Committee met. They are planning all their speakers, and they are going to try to get the cottage party done ASAP for the transition from elementary school to middle school, or is it middle school to high school?
I thought it was elementary. to middle.
Elementary to middle school, yes. That's it.
So just to, thank you, Dan, to follow up on what Councilman Grossman was saying, just to remind the residents, there's a new bicycle law as it deals with actually automobiles and their relationships to bicycles, wheelchairs, runners on the street, a safe distancing law that went into effect in March, where a motorist has to stay, 4 feet away from a bicyclist or a walker when they're passing them, and slow down to 25 miles an hour, I think, if they can't pass safely. So just to follow up on the heels of what you said, Jeff. Okay, introduction of, we're done with committee reports. We're going to go to new ordinances now. And the first one is 2209. Okay, 2209 residential parking, permit parking. Councilman Grossman, would you like to make this motion, please?
This is freezing.
Take your time.
It's all business.
You good, or?
You already clicked on business.
No, because this wasn't clicking. Where'd you click?
Business.
Yeah.
You got it up for him, Dan?
Yep.
Yeah. My new business is not clickable. I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-09, set the hearing for May 24th, 2022 at 8 p.m. or soon thereafter.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct the roll call?
Ordinance number 22-09, an ordinance amending chapter 7 traffic of the revised general ordinances. Councilmember Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
I hope this gives those residents some relief.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 2210, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements. Councilwoman Dayton, would you like to make a motion here?
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-10 and set the hearing for May 24th, 2022 at 8 PM or as soon thereafter.
Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, can you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call, please?
Ordinance number 22-10, an ordinance providing for various capital improvements by the Borough of Tenafly appropriating the aggregate amount of $1,819,621. Therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,732 in bonds or notes of the borough to finance part of the cost thereof. Councilmember Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
No.
Councilmember Menden.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We've got 22-11, the open space and Bergen County open space grant appropriation, the walkway path at Oresco Park. I'm going to ask for a motion, Councilman Menon, I'm going to ask for a motion on this, and it may be amended at the second reading.
Okay. I move to introduce on first reading, as may be amended at the second reading, ordinance 22-11 and set the hearing for May 24th, 2022 at 8 PM or as soon thereafter.
Thank you. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, can you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call?
Ordinance number 22-11, an ordinance of the Borough of Tenafly and the County of Bergen, New Jersey, appropriating $90,000 for the walkway path at Oresco Park. Councilmember Dayton.
So I do want this work to be done. I behoove us to reduce the costs and be more accurate about it, especially if we can get some of this work done internally or with benches. But I'm going to say yes, with the caveat, I hope, Jimmy, you're going to work on this.
Councilmember Grossman.
Ditto that, yes, but I agree with everything that was just said.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
No.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance 22-12, non-represented salary ordinance. Councilman Michaels, would you like to make the motion on this, please?
I move to introduce on first reading ordinance 22-12 and set the hearing for May 24th, 2022 at 8 PM or as soon thereafter.
Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Omar, could you please read the title of the ordinance and conduct a roll call?
Ordinance number 22-12, an ordinance to fix the salary, wage, or compensation of certain management, administrative, civilian dispatchers, and part-time employees of the Borough of Tenafly and the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, for the calendar years 2020, 2021, 2022, and 2023. Councilmember Dayton.
Yes.
Councilmember Grossman.
Yes.
Councilmember Menon.
Yes.
Councilmember Michaels.
Yes.
Councilmember Dr. O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilmember Park.
Yes.
Okay, thank you everyone for that. Since we have a closed session tonight, in the interest of time, we're going to skip over the mayor's remarks. I know you're all going to be very disappointed about that, but you'll survive. Okay, we're going to go into closed session. And, can you please read the closed session language for us?
Borough of Tenafly Resolution Number R-22-163 at a regular meeting of the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly, County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, held on May 10th, 2022. The Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly has deemed it necessary to go into closed session to discuss certain matters which are exempt from the public. Be it resolved in compliance with NJSA 10:4-12, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Tenafly are going into closed executive session to discuss the following. A, contract negotiations, CSX lease agreement. Minutes will be taken of the meeting and released to the public at the time that the matter is resolved.
Have a motion to go into close, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Right.
I'm not sure if I